preparing for success, let's hear from BEIS and the perspective of the Department of Business. Fergus Harradence is Deputy Director for Infrastructure and Construction from the Department of Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy. Welcome to you.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm Fergus Harradence, Deputy Director for Infrastructure and Construction BEIS. So my responsibilities essentially span the entirety of the construction sector. Probably the only person in Whitehall who's actually got responsibility for everything from the largest projects like HS2 right the way down to people undertaking domestic retrofit who are self-employed, where we work with small firms, product manufacturing, and also professional services linked to construction. And I'm delighted to be here and to have the opportunity to talk to the FMB Conference and to pay tribute to the work that the FMB has done over the last few years in conjunction with the department and a number of other trade associations in the industry through the Construction Leadership Council to help manage what has been a really, really challenging 3 years for the industry and for everybody working in it, starting with the COVID pandemic in 2020 and the reduction in activity in the industry. It's a consequence of that, followed by a period of sustained inflation and challenges in securing supplies of products and materials, and then more recently, the economic impact of Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the impact of that on fuel and energy prices, which have been significant and had a big impact on the industry. But I think it is a testament to the qualities of resilience and adaptability that the construction sector has in the UK, and that means right from the top, right the way down to the smallest firms in the industry. The speed with which they were able to adapt in 2020 is incredible. Firms and trade associations like the FMB invested an enormous amount of time, effort and energy working really quickly to devise new safer working guidelines, rules, standards and protocols and communicate these to their members, which not only enabled the industry to continue working throughout the period of recovery, but enabled the industry to continue working on large sites and in people's homes without ever becoming a vector for the transmission of COVID-19, and for the entire industry to essentially recover loss in output within about 12 months from the start of the pandemic. So it was an incredible achievement by everybody, including the smallest firms in the construction sector. But to talk a bit more about the role of the FMB in recent years, the reason I think the industry successfully adapted to COVID and was able to show such resilience is the spirit of cooperation and collaboration that we've seen over the last few years. And the FMB has been a really important part of that, and very much the voice for small independent firms within the industry, and particularly the ones working on domestic RMI, which, whilst it might not always grab the headlines, accounts for about 60% of all activity within the industry and the bulk of employment. And it is the bit of the industry that is essential to the average person living in the UK, because it's the bit that maintains and improves their homes and supports small businesses that want to improve or adapt their premises. And the challenge that we've always had as government is engaging with that segment of the industry, which is very small. It doesn't have the government relations functions that the Balfour Beatty or another large firm have. A lot of the firms within that segment are maybe not members of trade associations. So having an organisation like the Federation of Master Builders that we can go to and talk to and engage with, who can be the voice of small businesses in the sector and represent particularly the domestic RMI subsector, is really important. And it's been vital that we've had that perspective over the last 3 years. And the FMB has been a really, really strong advocate, and it's made sure that when we've produced industry-wide documents like the Industry Recovery Plan for COVID-19 that we worked on collectively in 2020, we've woven in elements to that, particularly around the importance of supporting domestic RMI. And it is really down to the FMB that we've seen that, and we've seen the rest of the industry agreeing that this is a subsector that does need support and does need to be invested in the same way that larger infrastructure projects or new house building need to. So the FMB really did play an important part in that, and through them and their consistent advocacy of the importance of domestic maintenance and improvement, we've actually seen the rollout of some of the schemes. Firstly, the Green Homes Grant, which was not the most successful policy initiative, admittedly, but it did attempt to address a very important need at the right time. But more recently, the Social Housing Decarbonisation Fund, which I think has been a much more successful, much more strategic and better organised approach to tackling the big challenges of domestic retrofit. And the FMB has also been an important part of our product availability group. Some of its members are involved in that, and they've been, again, voice of small businesses, which are some of those that have been most affected by some of the product and material shortages that we've seen. And it's been vital being able to engage with the FMB and talk to some of the membership directly to understand where they source their products and materials from, and what the real impact of rising prices and what the shortage of materials has been on things like small house building projects or domestic RMI. The FMB is also an important part of our work on skills, working with government and the wider industry through our construction skills delivery group. They've been important in both developing some of the new apprenticeship standards that were a really pressing need a few years ago, but also in engaging the Construction Industry Training Board and other organisations around funding for the flexibility of the structures that support apprenticeships and other forms of training within the industry, so that we ensure that these are flexible and adaptable, and they meet the needs of small firms who do account for the bulk of training in the industry and are a really, really important part of the sector. And the FMB has also been a consistent advocate of high standards, which is linked to training and skills development, and ensuring that work that is done by the domestic RMI sector is done to a very high standard and provides a consumer redress. And they work very closely with organisations like Trustmark as well as government on the possible ways in which we could create a licensing scheme, but also looking at how we can ensure that those structures and mechanisms that we do already have in place can support and help to strengthen this part of the industry and ensure that consumers that are looking, for example, to improve their homes or to retrofit them to make them more energy and heat efficient, are able to access trusted, capable, and competent tradespeople to do that. So just a very final word on retrofit before I conclude. Clearly, there is a pressing need for the UK to decarbonise rapidly. We have the statutory objective of achieving net zero carbon by 2050, but the reality is that we have too much bigger challenges than that. We have the target of achieving 68% reduction in carbon emissions on the 1990 baseline by 2030, and increasing that to 78% by 2035. And it's simply impossible for us to do this unless we make some significant inroads into what's probably the biggest challenge for the whole construction sector at the moment, which is decarbonising the approximately 27 million homes that exist in the UK. And this is a problem that we have really acted too late on. We should probably have started work on tackling this challenge well over a decade ago. Unfortunately, we've chosen not to do that. It's only recently that we've started to make significant investments in this area. But I think that over the next few years, what we're going to see is a significant increase in activity in this area. And it's something that we are going to need the construction industry and the whole construction supply chain to respond to. And the FMB has been consistently ahead of the game in this area, developing proposals for a national retrofit strategy, looking at the kind of standards that firms in the supply chain accredited to, what new skills are going to be needed, how is the supply chain going to source the materials and the products that it needs to do this, and what's the framework of the policy proposals that are required to create a strong and sustainable market for domestic retrofit in the UK. And it's been great to have the FMB there, as well as doing quite a lot of the thinking and coming up with new ideas and challenge some existing policies, working with us very closely on the rollout of initiatives like the Social Housing Decarbonisation Fund. We're spending billions in conjunction with local authorities to undertake deep retrofits of social housing and a whole range of projects across the whole of the UK. And their support, advice and understanding of firms in the market, what they can deliver and what they can deliver if given time and we approach the creation of the market and the delivery of projects in the right way has really been invaluable in ensuring that these projects can be successfully undertaken. So just to conclude, we do face a time when there are an awful lot of challenges. Tom outlined a lot of them, and it's clear that the next couple of years are going to be difficult for every sector of the economy, and that does include construction. There are also some much more fundamental longer-term challenges for this industry: decarbonisation, improving its sustainability, reducing its environmental footprint in terms of things like improved biodiversity, waste reduction, the demographic challenge of an ageing workforce, where we have an industry now where a third of construction workers are over the age of 50. We're not recruiting enough young people. We need to improve the diversity and attractiveness of the industry and widen the talent pool the sector is recruiting for. And the sector also needs to adapt to new technologies, digital technology, off-site manufacturing, and some of the other new technologies that are emerging into the market that have the capacity to improve its productivity and its sustainability and to help it to decarbonise. But the only way in which the industry is going to achieve this is if it continues to collaborate and we work in future in the same spirit of partnership that we've seen over the last 3 years, where we bring together clients, contractors, the professional services firms, the product manufacturers and the entire construction supply chain to work together as collaboratively and effectively as possible to surmount these challenges and to make this a better industry that's a lot more attractive to people who want to come and work in it. But there is no doubt that whatever happens over the next few years, is still going to be a vital role in this industry for small firms, particularly in relation to the market for domestic RMI. So they are going to have to be at the heart of what we do. And as government, we will be continuing to look to the FMB to be their voice with government and make sure that when we develop policies, it's done on the basis of a strong understanding of what will work and what will engage these firms and help them to succeed in the future. Thank you very much.
Fergus, thank you very much indeed. I don't see any, I think, oh, there is an immediate question, if we can just quickly take that.
Sure.
What do you think of the FMB's call for a mandatory licensing scheme to raise standards and quality? Is the answer, if you wouldn't mind. We got
this is one of those subjects where you can, there are very strong arguments.
Yes.
I think it's certainly arguable that had we introduced mandatory licensing firms in the construction industry and professionals decades ago, we would have a much stronger, higher quality, better industry. I think it's very hard to argue against that, because if we'd done that, I think we would have much more structured training position, we would have clear pathways to competency, we'd have better provisions for consumer redress and some of those issues that we know concern consumers, we know that they are worried about when they engage builders, particularly when they're inexperienced construction clients. And I think that those will always be very strong arguments in favour of doing this. That said, the big challenge in this area has always been the practicalities of how you implement this. It's defining how a licensing scheme would work. It's linking it to the system of consumer redress. It's linking it to the questions of competency, skills development, and training. And it's how you build a structure that works, trains people, supports them throughout their career, and then also ensures that if we introduce this, we don't lose large numbers of people within the industry who choose to opt out because they decide that they can't be bothered to do this. And this is frankly the problem that we've already seen in relation to the transition to CSCS cards, where we tried to make that mandatory, where we had all sorts of people asking us for flexibilities, for exemptions, for grandfather rights and other things. So yes, I mean, in principle, I think it's a good idea. There are strong arguments in favour of it, but we have to be sensible about the practicalities of doing this and how you would introduce it in a structured way, which is why we've been working with the FMB, looking at what we can do around retrofit initially to just try and drive up standards, limits to Trustmark past 2035 and all the standards. And if that is successful, then perhaps there's potential to roll that approach out more widely across the industry.
Thank you very much indeed.
Sorry, I went on a bit there.
No, you didn't go on at all. Thank you very much indeed. Much obliged to you. Thank you.